Hi folks, Mike from EnlightenAI here. I'm really excited to share a new feature with you today and walk you through how EnlightenAI can be used for immediate AI feedback in class and share the new tools we've added to this workflow, including our inline feedback and our teacher dashboard. So I'm going to start today by showing you this assignment, which we're going to create for in-class feedback. So you can say here, I have my assignment title, I've put in my details, I've added a rubric. I'm just going to use a simple claim, evidence, and reason. We have our prompt. We're asking students to write about a school uniform policy. And I've included some readings that went along with this assignment. And on this next screen, you can see I've included some custom instructions for my AI. I can go in and pre-train my AI, and we definitely recommend you do this. If you have samples of student work, you can calibrate and train your AI and give it kind of the customization that it really needs. I'm going to come to the next step here, and I'm going to choose to share this just with my classroom. And here's where you're going to see some of the new features in Enlighten. So we're going to see that I want to use instant AI feedback, which means I want my students to be able to write, receive immediate feedback, then revise, resubmit, and keep getting feedback. We can choose how many attempts students should have in class. I'm going to set this to 5. And we can choose if we want students to get inline AI feedback. I can also add in some custom instructions here if I want to. So I might say, focus on whether students are adding enough evidence for their arguments. Maybe that's something that we've been talking about a lot in class, and I want to make sure that my teaching assistant really focuses there. I can also turn on disable pasting, which would just mean that students can't be a little bit too creative and maybe bring in work from outside the system. I'm going to leave this turned off for this demo, though. And then last step is I can assign this to my classes. I'll assign this to my ELA class, and I'll click publish. Now, immediately what's going to pop up is the share link that I can generate for students. So we highly recommend click here where it says share with students, and then you can copy this link. This is a link you can share with your students, maybe in Google Classroom, or maybe you can email it to them. However you can best get that link to them, they'll now be able to click on this, log into EnlightenAI, probably using either Google Classroom or Clever, or they can also use a magic link to log in with their email address, and it will bring them right to the assignment. And now as a teacher, I can go back to my dashboard and I'll see my assignment right here. And as we'll see in a second, I'll be able to click in and view a live dashboard of student work. But before we do that, let's flip over and look at the student view of Enlighten to see how they're going to interact with this assignment and how they're going to get feedback in the system. So the view you're seeing here now is me in a sample student account. So you can see I'm only part of one class that I've been rostered into, and it's a Google Classroom class from this logo here. And what I'm going to do is click in here. And as a student, I can now see all of the different assignments that my teachers assigned to me. I can see this on-demand 10th grade school uniform policy assignment that we just assigned today. So I'm going to click into it. Now, as a student, I'll be able to see the prompt over here. I can click and see any of the sources that I was supposed to read. And lastly, I'll be able to click here and see the feedback that EnlightenAI is going to start to provide to me. So I'm going to go back to my prompt. And now it's my job as a student to start writing. So maybe I'm going to start writing my paragraph, and I'll just add in a couple sentences. This is an okay start. It's certainly probably not at quite the level that we're hoping the student will get to, but maybe this is where they're going to begin. So as a student, I can come here and click submit for feedback. Now, EnlightenAI is immediately going to analyze the submission, and then it's going to start to give me feedback in 2 different ways. Because we chose to do inline feedback, EnlightenAI is going to give inline contextual feedback here, where it's going to highlight and color code the text, give me information about, okay, I'm clearly stating my opinion. Great way to get started. I bring up a reason for my position, but I need to include specific evidence. Okay, so I'm getting some inline feedback here. I'm also getting more summative feedback over here in the form of glows and grows. Now, this is something that I specifically asked my TA to do. So you can see that it's following my instructions and giving me glows, grows, and a specific way to improve. I'm also getting rubric scores right at the beginning. So I can keep writing now, and I can keep improving my draft. So we can imagine that this is a formative kind of practice in class. So I've gotten some really specific feedback here about I need to include at least 2 specific pieces of evidence to support my claim. I've heard that a couple different ways. So maybe now I come in here and I start to add more context, add more justification and more evidence for my claim. So I'll resubmit. And now what we'll see is that EnlightenAI will be able to reanalyze the text. It will be able to understand that I've made improvements. Notice how it's saying, I noticed you've added new reasoning about uniforms. And it's still telling me that I need more specific evidence, though. So The great thing about this is that as a student, I can iteratively improve my draft. And each time, EnlightenAI is going to be able to recognize the progress I've made, continue to give me feedback, and continue to give me scores that will, over time, improve if my draft is improving. Each time, I can review the different pieces of feedback I'm getting and keep resubmitting. Now you can see that my scores are starting to go up. I still have work to do on my evidence, so I'm going to have to loop back to that later. But what I'm going to do now is pause looking at the student side of the platform, and I'm going to come back to the teacher side to show what a teacher can be doing while their entire class is taking part in this on-demand writing assignment. So now we're back in our teacher view, and you can see when I come look at this assignment, there's now this View Live button that's been added because we have students who are actively writing. Once we've assigned this assignment to our class, we'll be able to click here and come into this new dashboard in EnlightenAI that will show us an activity wall of all of the students who are working. It will show us class trends and a variety of other tools. So first and foremost, I can see which of my students are idle, and all of these are fake students, so they are idle and not writing right now, and which of my students are active. EnlightenAI will also be able to analyze the student work and show you students who need help based on their progress and their current rubric scores. So you'll have a really clear signal for which students you probably need to focus on the most. If I want to, I can click in and even view the draft that student is working on. I could click through and see earlier drafts, see their progress, see the different immediate AI feedback they've gotten. And at any time, I can also add my own comments here in the text. I can just highlight the text I want, click to add a comment, and add whatever sentiments I want the student to see. One thing I can also do is click Show Call here. And what this will do is bring up a list of all of the student responses that have been submitted so far. And then at any time, I can view these and choose to do so anonymously and show this to the class. I could even present a comparison of different student responses to be able to have a conversation with the entire class of why one submission maybe has one score and a different one has a different score. It's a great way to get students involved in the evaluation of writing. Back on my main dashboard, you can also start to filter these students using these buttons here, or you can come over here and see all of the different suggested moves that our AI teaching assistant is going to provide to us as it shows kind of where we can focus, what types of feedback we can be giving to different students. The goal is that you can have this assistant who's right next to you while all of your students are working to help guide the interventions that you might want to make. And of course, as you can see, you're always going to have ongoing class trends that you can refresh at any time to see exactly what the growth areas are so far in the class and kind of what the overall strengths are, recommendations for what you can be doing next. Of course, at the end of this process, you're still going to be able to see all of the summary data, edit final feedback, and make sure that your students are only getting the scores and feedback that you think should be their final round. So you're still fully in control of this process. We just want to enable you with all the tools you need. You can come here at any time to also see more data, to see more trends and insights on student work. When you're ready, you could use EnlightenAI to create a data-driven reteach based on the trends and insights that the system has created. I hope this is a great introduction to this new class trends dashboard that you can use for immediate AI feedback and to the color-coded inline feedback that all of your students can get when you're assigning them formative practice in EnlightenAI. As always, if you have questions, need help, or have more feedback for us, we'd love to hear it. We're always looking to work with our teacher community to improve. So please reach out, let us know what we can be doing better, and engage in the conversation. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks so much for watching.